So now we've completely installed both the JDK8 and Eclipse. This part will be very similar for both Mac and Windows, so it'll just be the one version of the video. So open up Eclipse. Now, this workspace is the one we initially created, which is fine. Most of the time, you can just use this as a default, and you're okay from there. But you can switch workspaces later if you want. So now, we're going to assume that you have already downloaded the attached the attachment to the assignment, which is actually an Eclipse project. So I'm going to do an import, and this part is important. There we go. I want to select an existing project into the workspace. Right? And so then I'm going to select an archive file. And this will be, I put it in my download, so you're going to have to remember where you put it. Open. And then you can go ahead and finish. So for the most part, we're almost done. Now, what you're going to see is you've been given a lot of code to start you off with this project. A lot of it you won't have to do too much with. The one thing you want to do right away is we're going to use this interface, and you can see the documentation right down here for the interface. It's not generated at this point. We can generate it, so we can go ahead and we'll do that in a moment. But what we want to do is use this interface, which database search is actually an interface file. And let me show you how to create that class that implements that interface. So we'll go ahead and say new class. And I want you to call this database reader. And then we do want to have an interface. We're going to add an interface, and it's going to be the database search interface, which is part of that package. We click OK, and then we can click Finish. And now we've automatically created the stubs for all the required methods that you're going to be required. And you can see now that all the errors went away. Now, so these are your code files. Package info actually isn't a code file. It's actually information about the package. But the timing, the driver, you shouldn't have to do much with. The database search, you shouldn't have to do much. Most of your coding will be done in the database reader that you just created. And now, these tests have been created. These are basic tests, but you'll need to create more. These just test the naive searches, and they're all going to fail now. And this is common with test-driven development. At least a lot of them will fail. Some of them actually pass because they're based on the driver, and the driver's mostly implemented. But let's go ahead, and we can run. And we want to run those as JUnit tests, because that's what they are. Let's see. And I'm going to allow that. So now you can see I've gotten 126 failures, which is to be expected because I haven't written a lot of the software yet. But you can see in my test driver, a lot of this actually is passing. But as a preview, I'm going to go ahead and look at a couple of the methods that I have to create. One of the first methods I have to create is this binary load method. Now, let's go ahead and go back to my Package Explorer, go up here, and I'm going to go ahead and project, generate my Java docs, and I'll say Java. Right. Oh, I have to configure the Java doc. Let's see here where it is. Let me skip that for now. I'll come back to that. What it's asking me to do is tell it where the Java doc tool is, and I'm really not ready to do that at this point. So the I guess maybe I can do it. So let's look at the tests that failed, and we can see that naive search failed, and we can see why it failed. Load failure cannot continue. And the load failure is basically in my search. I have a naive load. And all this is supposed to do, if you look here from the Java docs, is it sets the name of the file to actually be read from. So that's actually a really, really easy method. I mean, it's basically it's a setter, right? That's all it has to do. So let's go up here to naive load. Right now it returns false. So I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do this, but I'll give you a general idea. I'm going to need a place to put this information, surprisingly. I'll call it private. Name. So this will be where I have the file name. It's going to be a string, right? And I'm going to set it to nothing to begin with. So what has to happen is when I do my naive load, I should take that file name and assign it to this value. Now, there is something missing, which is I should actually check to see if this file exists. And I'll leave you to figure out how you might want to accomplish this. But if the file exists, I would return, I would set the appropriate name and then return true. If the file doesn't exist, I should return false. So let's go ahead and save that. And now if I look back at my JUnits, let me see if I can get one of these tests to pass. And do 124, let's see. Binary naive. Let's see. So this invalid file is not working, but then the valid one, let's see. Orders. So this test also uses this method, which we didn't fix, right? So you can see, and it's supposed to return that name, so it's testing that as well. So let's go in here and go ahead back into our reader. So we've adjusted this the naive load, but we also want to go ahead and there should be basically a getter for this. And excuse, the font's kind of large, so I wanted you to be able to see it. But I may have overdone things a little bit. So let's see. Here we go. Right now it returns a null. And all we need to do is have it return my database file name. Right here. Instead, I can get rid of this because no longer is this a generated stub, right? And now let's go ahead and rerun my tests. So now I'm starting to see, let's see, my naive load valid. This one appears to have run properly this time. You can see my failures have gone down. And that's the idea behind the test-driven development. I've already developed some of my tests, and now as I go ahead and add code, more and more of my tests will pass. You know, the important thing though is these tests have to cover, you know, most of my cases. If they don't, then while they're improving, I may have missed some things. So my code may not be completely perfect. But that's the basic idea. So I've given you this one example here of how to start. Like we've got this method, the database name method that is now just returning an internal private instance variable, which is pretty much all it's going to have to do. And then the naive load, which is going to have to do a little more, but this is close to being done. All you have to do is figure out does this file actually exist. All right, well that's it for now, and I will have a little more discussion of this in assignment 2. And one last thing before you go, this right here, you know, this is the screen image you want to take a screenshot of. So you want to have the database reader up. Your text, your font doesn't have to be this big. You want to have this as the selected item in your code editor. And then I want to be able to see that you have uploaded, you've imported the assignment, and I can see that you're using 1.8, and I can see that you're using JUnit 4, which of course is already part of the assignment project anyway, but that'll give me an idea. So just take an image of that, a screenshot of that, and submit it, and that's all you need to do to get full credit. So now that you've gotten hopefully full credit on your first assignment, which is really the start of assignment 2, let's see if we can get that documentation generated so you can get a look at the methods that you're going to have to develop a little more easily using the Java doc format. So previously I showed you that I went up here, project, generate doc, and right here I have to tell it, well, one, I'm going to definitely generate that documentation. I have to tell it where to find the Java doc tool. Let's see if I can, I'm not going to make this easy on me. All right, this PC. Program files, Java. JDK. Let's see. Bin. Java doc. All right. I think that's what I need. And you can see now the finish button is once again happy. So let's go ahead and click finish. And I want to update yes to all. Let's see. There we go. So now you can see it's generated my documentation. And I can look at, let's see if I go index. Let me look at the index here. Okay, so this gives me, now I can start looking at these, the documentation. You can see binary returns true if a current database file is in binary version. So now you can see right from this that you actually could start working on the assignment, because it gives you a pretty good idea about what you're going to need to do. And this all comes from the documentation that's actually in this here. These are the Java doc comments. And you probably have heard before that you really should be using Java doc comments, and this is why. Because now you're going to be using my code and trying to implement this interface that I wrote, and my documentation is going to help you along the way. So there you have your documentation. You can poke around with it. You can look at database reader, which really, database reader, of course, a lot of these methods, where did they come from? They came from database search. One interesting thing about this is you will see this run search is a default method, which is a new feature of Java 8. You can now have methods that are part of the interface that will be inherited by a class that implements the interface. That's a new feature. So there you have your assignment 2 is basically set up and ready to go. So you can start working on that. And I will also, assignment 2 will be posted, and I'll probably have a little further discussion of where to get started and how to get going. But if you've gotten this far and you've turned in your screenshot, you're in good shape, and hopefully you've set yourself up for success in assignment 2.